On Good Friday, Catholics from around the world gather to venerate the cross of Christ. Each of us has our own cross to carry in life. Today I'd like to tell you the story of one person's cross. She was a Felician nun named Sister Louise Olsovka. To the sisters in the convent, she was Sister Louise Marie, but to thousands of young people in youth ministry in the Diocese of Pittsburgh, she was simply Sister Wheezy. To give you an idea of the kind of person she was, in 1990, Sister Louise decided that young people should do something to help people who were poor and hungry. So she gathered 33 of her friends to undertake what she called a love walk for the poor. They met in Pittsburgh East End, bringing donations of food and canned good, and walked a mile to the local food pantry. It was one of the many things she did while working in youth ministry for the diocese. On New Year's Day, several years ago, Sister Wheezy was diagnosed with cancer. As she was undergoing treatment during the Lent of 2007, the Spirit helped her to understand her own suffering by imagining how Christ must have suffered on Good Friday. She wrote her own version of the Stations of the Cross, which I'd like to share with you. The first station, Jesus is condemned to death. January 1st, 2006. I'm told I have cancer. It's hard to believe this is happening to me. The second station, Jesus takes up his cross. January 13th, preparing myself for my surgery on Friday the 13th, a lucky day for me. I feel the warmth of God's Son and the embrace of Mary, the mother of Jesus. I also pray to my niece Dawn, who died suddenly at the age of 10. With the gift of Dr. Seski, I not only survived the operation, but thrived. The third station, Jesus falls for the first time. February 20th, my birthday. Tears flowed and I felt helpless. The fourth station, Jesus meets his Blessed Mother. I take inspiration from my mom, who braved 3 months of hospice after contracting stomach cancer, and also from our Sister Nora and Sister Alexis, as well as those women who were in my cancer support group and in recovery. Fifth station, Simon of Cyrene helps Jesus to carry his cross. So many, many Simons in my life, each of you in your own way, through cards and phone calls, visits and prayers, flowers, books, candy, and lots of hugs. Thank you. Thank you. You are unfolding in my daily prayer. Jesus, I love you. I adore you. I thank you. I praise you. These words are part of the essence of our being, to rejoice in life, to be happy, and to praise God, even in our sufferings. The sixth station, Veronica wipes the face of Jesus. After some nasty 3 months, the chemo begins to work. I'm feeling better. I taught, I traveled. I enjoyed 7 months of new, glorious life, even riding my bike again. But 2007 starts with a lousy January, a miserable February, and a coping and hoping March. 30 pounds of fluid, 11 liters gushed from my body. Lo and behold, I land back in Allegheny General Hospital on the 12th floor, the infant labor floor. It is here where I experienced St. Veronica and a nurse named Anna as she inserted the tube down my nose for the 4th time. It was one of the worst procedures I experienced. Tears slowly trickled from my eyes, and in her great compassion, Anna took a warm cloth and gently wiped my eyes, my face, my forehead. And at that moment, I was with Christ. The 7th station, Jesus falls for the 2nd time. When Dr. Giuseppe, my pain doctor and friend, told me the end of chemo treatment is near, and of course death awaits around the corner, I went into a minor spiritual trauma. His visits, his hugs, his compassionate heart lifted me from the ground when I could barely go on. The 8th station, Jesus meets the women of Jerusalem. My friends and my fellow sisters who visited and prayed with me, you are those women. Never forget that tears are seeds of hope. The 9th station, Jesus falls for the 3rd time. Too many times too many names to list of those who helped me. You know who you are, especially my family. Thank you. The 10th station. Jesus is stripped of his garments. I'm being stripped of my independence, my stubbornness, my anger, which is a good thing, hopefully helping to spiritually renew the world. The 11th station. Jesus is nailed to the cross. What comes next? Only God knows. But with his help, I'll get through this. The 12th station. Jesus dies on the cross. It's Monday, June 11th, 2007, and Sister Louise Marie Olsovka, a Felician sister for 44 years, breathes her last. The 13th station. Jesus is taken down from the cross. The news passes through the convent and beyond the walls to friends and family. There is much work to be done, calls to be made, her veil and habit to be prepared, but it's all a labor of love. There is a strange sense of honor to be able to help with the final preparation, if only in some small way. The 14th station. Jesus is laid in the tomb. We gather at the Mother House. I've seen so many people so in love with a nun. There was no mahogany coffin, no bronze handles or silk pillow. They laid her out in a simple pine box with straw inside. Somehow it was all fitting. A humble resting place for a humble woman dressed in her nun's habit. It was like a wedding gown, and Sister Louise was awaiting to meet the bridegroom she had served for 44 years, Jesus Christ. I wandered down to the cemetery at the Mother House to see where she would be laid. It was a simple grave. There was a peacefulness, a hallowedness in the place, and I felt honored to be there, if only for a few minutes. The 15th station, the resurrection. Sister Louise's story is far from over. In the beginning, I mentioned the love walk she began with a few dozen friends in 1990. From its meager beginnings, her idea has grown over the years. In 2009, 2 years after her death, 1,100 people gathered at Sacred Heart Church in Pittsburgh and carried nearly half a ton of donated food, diapers, and supplies for the poor to the local food pantry. Sister Louise was many things: a youth minister, a principal, a social activist, but more than anything else, she was a teacher. Even in her suffering and death, she taught me a lesson beyond price, that in the midst of our suffering, if we can look beyond ourselves, we can see God's hand at work and feel his loving touch, often in the embrace of a stranger. Nothing would bring greater joy to Weezy than to know that her suffering brought even one person a tiny glimpse of insight into the gift of Christ's passion. Each of us has a cross to carry. It's when we look beyond our own pain to the needs of others that our suffering is united with Christ's passion. And even in the midst of pain, we discover the peace of Christ, a peace beyond all understanding. This is Weezy's legacy, her last gift. What lesson will you teach with your life?